What's up, Shinners? It's Matty P.
And it's Aaron Good.
My very special guest host today. We're taking a trip to the land of Scotland.
The land of freedom.
I should probably let you say that because you are Scottish.
Yeah, the land of freedom and Duncan Shaw.
Yes, yeah. The famous, well-known, bright bike rider, Mr. Duncan Shaw.
The manuel king.
Yeah, he's kind of a big deal, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah, he is. He is a big.
It was a really
deal.
good podcast, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I really enjoyed it. We asked Duncan what it felt like to be in Danny's shadow.
Yeah, that was a mixed response, I think.
I don't know how he felt about that, but I did ask a question.
But we got it kicked it off, and the hour went like that.
broke the ice nicely. Talked about the clan days.
Yeah, got a bit of a story about the clan. And when I was younger and stuff. So there's lots of good stuff in there.
Got a good story, and of course we found out his worst shindigs as well. I know that we keep forgetting to ask some of the guests.
Getting down to the nitty gritty stuff, the important things about the podcast. Yeah.
That is the super important. We like to dig deep into the trials community.
Yeah, so we certainly did. Even if it wasn't a pedal.
No. Before we jump straight into it, a little friendly reminder, guys. There's a few ways that you can support your favourite podcast. Very simple way. Just head to Apple Podcasts and give us a nice 5-star review. It's totally free. Very easy and just helps the algorithm to kind of push us up there, or even head to our website at shindigmedia.com.
Yeah, buy our merch.
Get some merch.
Yeah, we've got some very nice, comfortable jumpers
T-shirts.
That I spend my entire life in.
Yep, and hoodies. There is some more stock on its way. So the sports line is out of stock right now, but there is stuff on its way. And of course, another free way to support us is just head to our YouTube, The Shindig, and watch some of our vlogs. Really? There's a few of us.
Yeah, got a fresh one in Penzance.
Yeah. And there's a few of us just, being idiots
just
on
riding
bikes.
That's
that
we
are.
Really, innit?
We won't keep you any longer. Let's jump straight into it with Mr. Duncan Shaw. Let's go. Mr. Duncan Shaw. Whoop, whoop. Yes, all the way in the famous Scotland.
Ooh.
Duncan, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you boys doing? Cheers for having me.
Yeah, good, man. Good.
We're doing grand today. I've got a very special guest host with me.
I am the translator,
Mr. Aaron Good over here. I thought it might be relevant to have a Scotsman translate some of the Scottish in case other British boys didn't understand.
I didn't realize I was so hard to understand. But there you go. Never had a translator. I didn't think I needed one, but there you go.
It's perfect English for me.
I think Aaron just wanted an excuse to come on the show. Really, that was it.
Yeah,
that's all it was.
Well, we are from Inverness, and seemingly, I don't know who decided this, is that Invernessians speak the best English in the world.
Who said this?
I don't know. I've never heard that before. But yeah.
I'll take it.
So you in Inverness right now, Duncan?
I am actually in Glasgow today. I have been living up in Inverness, but just because we were doing shows at the weekend, and I obviously used to live in Glasgow with all the boys. I've still got a flat here, so I'm just in Glasgow today. Thought I'd come to the big city to get some relatively good internet.
Yes, this is actually our second attempt, because yesterday we tried to record and wasn't great.
Yeah.
Technology was not on our side. But again, Duncan, thanks for joining us, a fellow podcaster as well.
There you go. It's my first time being on the other side of it, so it's going to be interesting. I quite enjoyed not having to do any research for that. Just let it happen. And
mate, we don't do it here. We just wing it every time anyway.
There you go. Notes, so that's
there's a few key things that we like to, of course, bring up. But how's that going for you as a podcaster to podcaster, Duncan? How's that going for you?
Yeah, it's good. It's something I've wanted to do for a while. I'm not sure how long you guys had planned your podcast.
Quite a while myself. Yeah, probably a couple of years. I thought about.
Yeah, from that first moment of thinking I wanted to do it to actually doing it was easily 2 years. But yeah, it's been good. It's a lot more work than I expected.
Right.
I definitely thought it was just a case of like, oh yeah, I'll just like bang out a podcast every week and like be super chill. But the actual reality of it is a lot harder, as I'm sure you guys have learned as well.
100%, mate. And I was always interested because one of the only reasons I took it upon myself is because I knew what I'm doing. It's part of my job. I work with these types of equipment and things every day. How did you approach that for someone that maybe didn't have a technical background? I might be wrong.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I don't really. I've kind of been involved in production before.
Yeah.
It's either like from YouTube videos, but and also to like kind of like more sort of bigger stuff. I've been involved in something like Danny's projects, done a lot of drop and roll projects. So I've been kind of like around it without actually like being the person that does it. I'm just really lucky to have young, like there's a young guy called Rory who works for us, who he does like filming. We've also got like an editor that's working for us. So it's like, it's a lot easier to sort of get the quality good. I luckily don't have to do too much of it.
No, I do. I would say, you know, we are probably quantity over quality, aren't we? Really, we're the quantity over the quality, whereas you're covering the quality side of things. So we both got our own bit, and that's why I love it.
Yeah, it's just, I think like one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to do as many as I could in person.
Yeah,
but because of that, it just makes it really hard to do lots of them. Yeah, so I've been kind of going for like
wrong with that. Like trying to get people in, and there's a lot more logistics.
Lots more variables and so on. But, obviously, this is a trials-specific podcast. We won't talk about podcasts all day. You are a trials rider. You know, you have been for so many years.
What's this like?
A trials rider because you're now you've got a mountain bike now. It's sponsored by Marina as well.
Yeah, no, I'm just joking.
And we say trials, street trials. We're all the same. We're all doing tricks.
Yeah, I hope so.
I'm going to delve deep into this one. Now, this is the first thing I put on my notes because I always wanted to ask you when I see you. Duncan, how does it feel to live in Danny's shadow?
Oof. Ouch.
I thought it might hit home there. No, come on. This is we are trying to dig deep here. But you guys have ridden together for so many years. You know, you kind of almost come as a bit of a pair. Tell us a bit about that kind of relationship you guys have.
Yeah, it's definitely like a random one. I'm sure you probably talked. To be honest, I've not actually listened to your Ali podcast yet. I'm sure you kind of talked about that sort of stuff as well. Yeah, it's for sure. It's like a bit of a random one. It definitely has like its benefits and also it's the downside to it as well. But me and Danny literally go back like, it's depressing to think how long we've known each other. I think I met Danny when I was like 13, which is like 20 years ago, which just seems mad. We met each other at a bike event in the Isle of Skye, like pre-social media. So like basically, as Aaron well knows, like we've always had a pretty strong scene up in Inverness, up in Inverness, Highland bikes. There's always like stock bikes, which has kind of been something that's always just kept the scene going. There's always these little pockets of trials riders, I guess, across the UK, but pre-social media, you didn't really know what was going on in different places other than like the Martins on MBUK and stuff like that.
Yeah. Or Trials Forum, maybe.
Yeah, Trials Forum.
That's how I found out about these guys. Inverness had a strong scene when I was growing up.
Yeah, but even then, I think that's definitely either before Trials Forum or before I knew of Trials Forum at least. And we literally were like going past the bike shop one day and there was like a handwritten poster saying like, there's a trials comp in the Isle of Skye in like 2 weeks or something like that.
Wow.
So we all got like super excited and it was almost like these like urban sort of like myths and legends about like the different riders, and cause like all word of it was like proper like Chinese whispers. So like those boys would hear about different names and riders of like, and it'd always be like, I don't know, like there's a guy called Danny in the Isle of Skye and he does like 16-foot drops, and then the next time you hear it and it just gets extra on them. When you meet those guys, when we finally met them, they had the same stuff about us. Like they'd hear of like a certain rider who could do a certain move, but like a 360 becomes like a 720, becomes like a 1080, and then like I think basically everyone thought that everyone else was like better than each other because of that.
One-upping each time.
Yeah, I mean that's all.
Yeah, well, it's just like you say, it's just
Yeah.
just Chinese whispers, and like you just kind of assume that everyone else is like better than you, whatever. But yeah, we went to Skye with like my mum gave me and a few of the Inverness locals like a little. I think I was like 13. Danny would have been like 15 at the time. And there's loads of other riders in Skye as well who were all really good. Yeah, and that was like the first time we kind of all met each other, and ever since then just kind of like caught up for street rides. And there's been like different times the last 20 years where I've like hung out with Danny and those guys loads, and there's been times where I've not. And then ever since like we did a show in 2012 maybe, a clan show, and Danny came to it because at that point Danny wasn't riding with the clan, and Danny basically stayed in my flat that I was living in Glasgow for like a week, and a week became 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what Ali basically said. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
you must have grown.
And that's when then then Ali moved in and stuff, and then so basically me, Danny, Ali, and a few other boys lived in that flat from like 2012, all the way through to basically the start of this year.
You could say that was probably the first kind of trials house, as a sense, you know.
Yeah,
like you guys were.
Yeah, it was mad.
The benchmark for like the trials scene, I would say, from when I'm growing up. Anyway, that was like the one to. And they were the guys to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
To work towards.
Yeah, well, I was like so lucky because I suppose like throughout that whole time I'd kind of ended up going down like the competition side where Danny kind of like stuck to street stuff, and it wasn't until when I moved to Glasgow and actually had good street in 2011 or something, and that's when I actually got myself a street trials bike and kind of started from scratch really. But at the same time I was also living with Danny and Ali, who'd made that switch maybe like 3 years before I did, or maybe a wee bit more. So it's like, whilst I was kind of starting from square one, I also had this like massive benefit of being around Danny and being around Ali, and like
you surround yourself. You want to surround yourself with
learn so much like from those guys, and probably progress a lot faster than I otherwise would have if I didn't have those guys to ride with.
100%.
Because obviously, like I said, Ali had kind of done a similar thing to me, like kind of swapped over, but he kind of done it like a few years before, so his level was already like.
What were you riding before that?
Yeah,
specifically, what bike was it before you went to kind of the street?
So my rough sort of timeline of bikes is when I was like 13, like rode a mountain bike, like a 26-inch mountain bike with like the seat slammed down, like a giant or something. Yeah, like a real sort of like bodge job. Then I got a Handsome Dog Rockstar, which again, looking back, is like an absolutely
someone Google that.
Yeah, you look at it, it's like barely a trials bike, even though it was a trials bike. And then after that, I got a Diamondback. Do you remember?
The Diamondback. Because that was one of the first trials bikes
from way back in the day.
I remember.
It was like his signature. Yeah. I for some reason I just like fixated on that bike and really wanted it, and I just like. I think like I went to bike 2001, I think it was, in the NEC, and I asked the guy at the Diamondback stand, and I'm pretty sure he just like on the sly sold me like a bike they had in stock and just like took the cash for it, and I think I gave him 250 quid for the frame, but I was like delighted.
Yeah.
And I rode that for a bit, but then I got into like riding rocks and stuff, and that's when I had like I got a 20-inch, and I rode a 20-inch for like I don't know how long. Maybe like 6 or 7 years, and then my sort of like transition back into street and like bigger wheels was a 24-inch Echo trials bike, so like still proper trials.
Yeah, proper TGS.
That's when I started.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, I never knew when I started mod. I never knew.
Yeah, neither did I. You didn't.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I did loads.
A proper progression.
Yeah,
that's how I, on paper, kind of see it that way. 20-inch. TGS, then maybe 24, then maybe 26, and then
I was just like this.
Seems to go on a street bike. It's crazy.
Yeah, like 26, 20, 24. Yeah, 26 mountain bike, 26-inch trials bike, 20-inch trials bike, 24-inch pure trials bike. And then even then I was like, because Danny and Ali were like, you need to get inspired, and I'd ride them and I was just like, I was like, I get on it, I was like, I feel shit, I just can't imagine riding this thing. So basically what I did was, I don't know if you guys remember Jaff bikes. It's
I do.
We do.
Josh Leach. Josh Leach, yeah. So I basically, it was almost like a psychological stepping stone that I just like needed to do. But I basically designed this bike. I think Ali and Danny helped me. That was basically somewhere between an Echo, like that Echo Pure, whatever it was, a 24-inch bike in Glasgow, because there was a good street. And then we designed this bike that was basically half that, half an Inspired. And I rode it for like a few months. And then I was like, all right, screw it. I'll just get an Inspired.
Just bite the bullet, essentially.
Yeah.
Build the bridge.
So I got like it was almost like a sort of psychological like stepping stone.
Does that bike still exist?
I actually broke it.
Oh, don't tell Josh.
I had to. Now, Josh actually was really cool about it. I broke it, and he actually made me a new one, and like replaced it for free. But by that point,
typical Josh Leach again. Shout out to Josh, like helping everyone in the trials world. What a legend!
Yeah. So I actually don't know. I think I still have that bike, or maybe I sold it. I think I maybe sold it on trials for him, because I then got Inspired, and that's when I got the green Inspired 4.
If anyone knows what that frame is, hunt it down. Unique,
we'll try and find it.
Very unique. It's probably got a lot of value to it now.
I wish I kept it now, to be honest. But yeah, that was my like little way of getting into street, and then ever since then, just been doing that. Yeah. So
creating your style, I must say. You know, like moving into that area of always wanting to roll on the back
because it's hard. Like
manual
it's a hard one to come by. Trying to like but. The reason I really liked manuals was it was like something that you could never really do. Like I was useless at manuals on the 24 because I had like that proper grabby back brake with like a grinded rim, and it's just like long as hell bike. Like whether it's like a 20-inch or whether it was like that Echo, like it was something I just like never really did. But what happened was the time I got that Inspired 4-play team, whatever, the green bike, don't know if you remember that one, be 2013 I think it was. Danny was filming for Imagine It. I don't know if I remember that. It was actually in Glasgow, and it was like a winter, and there was this little area like upstairs from where they were shooting it, and it was like really low as well, so like because you couldn't really ride on like the actual set, but we had keys to go in this place, and like I just take like little, there was just like random stuff like from this old museum that was getting basically like knocked down. But it was all like really like weak stuff, so you couldn't even like, it's like you could make boxes but you couldn't actually like hop on them because they would just break. So I just spent like a few months just making like manual lines everywhere, and that's where I basically discovered like that's how I got into manuals. And like I think it was impossible to basically practice anything else other than manuals because the roof was so low, so you couldn't even do like the hops or anything. And that's once I got that's never stopped.
So you make do with the space that you're given, I suppose, and that's part of trials is getting creative with where you are. So I think I can see that now, but that's why I've never done manuals, everyone, because I've got a rear Magura.
Zero modulation.
Because if I had like, if I was somewhere else with maybe like more room height, I probably would have just like tried to do like more trialsy stuff on the 24. But because I just didn't have the option, I was just like, right, manuals it is then.
Yeah, you've got to choose something to do. Yeah. Sit around. So.
But it's a good way. Manuals are a good way of like getting used to a bike. I was thinking if you can like learn, if you can like manual a bike, that's kind of like the best way to.
It's just a stylish move. It's flowy, and you know, I've got to say, and I should probably perhaps learn them one day when I get an Inspired bike, when I can't move the body the way that I can now, perhaps in the future. But let's. A lot of people know you, Duncan, from Drop and Roll Tour. Very probably the top trials, the top trials show out there now. I will say, there's tons now. There's tons of different shows. I mean, it can't be that hard. We've been in shows, and look at us.
I remember actually the first time I did a show.
Yeah.
It was
of course,
with the clan in Fortrose, which is like.
So people that don't know, before Drop and Roll was
the clan.
Which that's how Aaron actually met Duncan. Is that the first time you guys met?
Nah, we met before, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Met from riding in Inverness and
I'm
stuff.
playing the unknown here, but you've got a bit of a story with that, right?
Yeah. Well, me and my mate Derek, we were just in the crowd with our trials bikes, just going to have a wee play about, see what was there and watch the show. And then you guys invited us to ride in the show, and we were like, "Oh my god, this is crazy!" Like we were like 15, and then we ended up doing a side hop comp with like you and Ali, and I can't remember who else was there. I think it was just
who was the clan?
Duncan and Ali.
Was it just?
So basically, the clan was originally me, Danny, a mountain bike and BMX rider Nash. Another mountain bike rider called Fraser, and a girl called Lynn, and basically it formed back in like 2009 or 2008, sorry, just before Danny like went kind of viral and stuff in 2009. And we basically formed because a guy, Ian Withers, who like ran the clan, got a contract to do like all these school shows, and we basically all came together to do this like schools tour, and then after that we like rebranded and called it the clan, and that's essentially what I did for years before I started Drop and Roll. But the thing that makes that even more relevant is when Danny kind of went viral in 2009, he got so many requests. From 2010 onwards, he stopped doing clan shows for a while just because he had so much other stuff on, and Ali became his replacement. And that's when me and Ali and all the other boys got.
So
really
that's
close.
when he was getting you guys really starting that trio, that strong triangle.
Yeah. So when we met you, Aaron, in Fortrose, that would have been like, I don't know, off the top of my head, maybe like 2012 or something, maybe.
I would think so, around that time. I think it was just you and Ali we had the competition against, but. Yeah, that was a highlight for me. Like we made it in the paper. Like,
I was going to say it was in the paper, but the thing is like I'm pretty sure you get, because like I think at that point we would have been on our street bike, so like we were doing bunny hops and you guys were doing side hops, and like I'm pretty sure Aaron nearly beat us, or like either, or maybe you did beat us.
Yeah, I'm not blowing my own trumpet.
Or nearly beat us, or beat us, or something. And it was like, oh shit, like we've like got this like kid from the crowd and look like dicks and actually beating us.
But I think those resonate with everyone that's watching, because you probably brought them out like, oh, here's the local kids, and like you bring them out and all of a sudden they're like, what? This guy's from our hometown and he's doing stunts, and like it kind of makes it that much more relatable, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially
and now he's beating them, and it's like we should ask for money back. Like we'll just book him for next year.
Yeah, that's what they said. Like, do you mind just having that other guy? You guys, we went like, just bring those other kids.
Yeah, that kid with the trackies on. Yeah, him.
Pretty much. But I knew that because I'd ridden with Aaron before. I knew when we invited him in, I was like, because I knew that you had a big side top on you as well from seeing you ride, and I was like, oh shit.
It was funny. Like at the end, like people were saying, oh, "Can I get your autograph?" Like me being like a 15-year-old, I just wrote my name on a piece of paper because I didn't have. Didn't have an autograph.
I don't have an autograph, mate.
So just wrote my name on a piece of paper and gave it to a child.
That is your autograph, Aaron.
Well, yeah, it is now. Yeah, they probably just binned it, but yeah.
And probably thought you spelt your name wrong.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know, Scottish.
I still don't know how you spell your name, to be honest.
I know.
No one does. Matt doesn't either.
I don't even know. We still say Aaron, and it's not even spelt with two A's.
No.
Anyway, well, as being like that's part of your job now, Drop and Roll is a big part of your day to day, I assume. What does your day to day lifestyle kind of look like, Duncan? Because obviously from the outside, it can look pretty mad, here, there, and everywhere. And keeping up with it, I'm sure, is a fast paced lifestyle.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit different to what it looks like on Instagram. Like it's definitely like the highlight reel, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean that's how Instagram works, but
yeah.
True.
I guess that's a whole other topic, like Instagram and phones and stuff. Like definitely, come to the conclusion that I think if I wasn't a rider, I probably wouldn't even have that app on my phone. But yeah,
I can totally relate, mate.
Yeah,
You can't beat them.
definitely
You've got to join
I
them.
understand it.
Yeah.
100%.
What's your day to day though, man? How do you kind of keep going?
Typical day doesn't really exist, I suppose. But I mean, I suppose the whole coronavirus stuff has definitely like changed that even more. Pre-COVID, like a typical day would just be when I was living in Glasgow with Danny and Ali and the boys, would be kind of waking up, doing a bit of work on my computer, just because I kind of like, we work with an agency for Drop and Roll, but I also kind of just deal with like the everyday run-ins of the business.
Okay, nice.
Like
the back end then, basically.
Doing the bookends, social media, like getting stuff ready for shows if we've got shows coming up. And then also just kind of like try to be proactive with my own kind of like riding stuff with sponsors and stuff. I've been lucky to get on board with a few sponsors on like a kind of personal level since kind of like 2016 or something. So that kind of, there's just little bits and bobs to that. Go out and shoot some Instagram clips. Maybe film some YouTube videos that I've kind of dipped my toe in here and there with. But then obviously with COVID hitting, that kind of just like threw a proper span in the works, and we pretty much went a full 2 years from 2019, September 2019 to September 2021 with basically no shows. So I actually moved up north with Danny and Rory Semple is a young lad who started working with us towards the tail end of 2019, and we just basically focused on making content, making videos, try to keep sponsors happy.
Yeah.
Given that we weren't doing any shows, like so it's very much a case of like, right, well, we're not doing this, what do we do? So we then just kind of focused on making content. I went back to kind of making weekly YouTube videos with the help of Rory, and that kind of became our day to day for like the whole of 2020, really.
Because weren't you and Danny trapped? You got like a place in Scotland, and then you ended up like you couldn't go anywhere, and you're like, right, we'll just ride in the back garden.
Yeah, we're basically like so many folk, we didn't really know what was going on. It was like everyone was like, oh, by the way, it's like we're going to get locked down for like 3 weeks. We should go we should like just go to like this like remote place and just stay there for 3 weeks rather than being like locked in a flat in the city, because there's so many of us as well. I was like, it'll be like hell of like being stuck in the flat, not being able to ride. So we went up there, but then like 3 weeks became like, then it was like proper lockdown. So we were just like, to the person that owned the place, like, well, we're already here, can we just stay here? And like 3 weeks became 6 months. So we basically spent a whole 6 months in an Airbnb essentially. Wow. But got like a really good deal on it, because like we knew that they weren't going to be able to rent it somewhere else.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it just basically became like our new home for like 6 months.
Wow. Okay, cool.
And so that essentially was just like a rental property. We had mountain biking on our doorstep. I just ordered like 50 pallets from like some guy.
Can you do that?
Just dropped.
Yeah,
I
didn't realize. You can just order pallets. Yeah.
Just bought them off some guy, ordered 30 pallets for like 300 quid. He dropped them off.
That's actually, like we always go through a struggle of finding them, getting a vehicle, and I guess we're just cheapskates, aren't we?
Yeah.
Good quality pallets are worth a bit of money, you know?
Yeah.
True. Well, I mean, we're only judging this from, the YouTube vids that you and Danny kind of put out with those pallet videos, and the creativeness that, the creative approach that you guys took that kept it interesting for us, for sure.
Yeah.
Doing what we like to call trials tapas. It's like Instagram, because it's little
Trials
snippets.
tapas. I've never heard that term.
You're not listening to the podcast enough. That's why. Trials tapas is what Instagram is. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
So
that's an interesting one.
You do trials tapas, little reels, little clips, and so on. I'm also glad that you make full videos. Again, shout out to others, like Ben Travis and stuff. People still making those kinds of videos.
Yeah.
We're trying to cover some of the vlog kind of aspects, but that was leading on to that. Do you have any like proper video projects you're working on at the moment, or ideas or anything?
Yeah, it's like you say, it's definitely one that I still try and do, but it's so hard. It's like the first thing that disappears when you like run low on time, because like you're always so fixated on like feeding that based of Instagram, so you're doing those daily clips, and it makes it really hard to get that balance right where you're able to create clips that you think are good enough to put out on Instagram, but then hold stuff back to try and make a video.
Yeah, it's a really hard
and it's
balance.
just like, and then like, I guess it's like that whole sort of like psychology towards Instagram, almost like whether it's just within yourself or because of people looking for stuff, you almost feel guilty because you've maybe not posted for a while. So maybe a clip that you'd maybe had earmarked for maybe a filler clip for a fuller video suddenly goes out on Instagram, and like the next thing you know it, like the proper video that you've been wanting to do just goes out the window. It's something because of that, my main method of actually making a proper edit would be just to go somewhere for like a week and just be like completely focused on making that video. So like, for example, I went to Malaga a few years ago.
Amazing video. If anyone hadn't seen it, sorry. That's an awesome vid with Travis and that. Yeah, really good. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, and then went to I'd usually just go somewhere warm because like the weather's so bad here, and it's like it's the only way I can actually like get a proper video like shot. It might not be as good as if you say spent a whole winter or something in Glasgow, like getting clips when you can and working on something. But just given my other commitments and stuff, I find it's like the only way I can actually get like a proper like 6-minute riding video done. So my hope is over the winter to go somewhere, whether it's like Tenerife or Spain.
I think that's how most are making those. Like Danny, when he does his big projects, and usually they are really well produced. He's got a really great team behind him. And you can tell they'll focus for an entire week, or he'll spend
or even
2
like a month.
days on one trick, and like
his projects are just next level. Like the commitment and the photography and it.
I think like when you're used to making like something, like putting up pretty high quality stuff on Instagram, you then, if you're going to make a proper video, you're like, well, I need to make it better than what I have. So it's like,
this is what we just spoke about yesterday.
You basically like, you easily spend 2 hours getting an Insta clip. And I guess that's what some people don't realize as well. People will look at Instagram and think like, I think with street riding, it's a bit different because you might be trying something like kind of random. So to make it work, you just need to basically do it over and over again. So like you might even spend 2 hours trying to get an Insta clip. So when it comes to making an actual video, you're like, right, shit, I need to do something better. So like that 2 hours could become like 5.
I feel like in street trials, there's a lot more specific things like, you'll manual with no pedal, like no kicking your pedals. There's a lot more fine tuning. But with like TGS stuff, you just do a big side hop and then that's it.
I think
that's
that's
a lot quicker.
But
I feel like you've got a lot more fine tuning with the street trials, your 180s, like and all that.
It's more creative. We just make it look impressive because we do something that's reasonably big. I feel to be in. Whereas on a, like you say, you could do a line that is literally you manualing around a room and you'll post it and it looks good enough, sort of thing. But do you feel that pressure then? Like, do you often get like, oh no, I've got to be better now. I've got to, because do you get that kind of pressure to always be better than what you were?
Not really. I guess that's kind of the cool thing about trials, and it's not like we're competing or anything like that. So there's not, which to be honest, a bit of pressure could probably be pretty would be good to kind of like
I mean it is. I don't mean it in a negative way. I think sometimes it can, but
yeah, a little bit. I think just for yourself, it's just good to like try and be better, like year and like especially when we've only been doing it for like a relatively terms of street trials. Still kind of feel like even as I get older, still kind of on some sort of curve. Sometimes it's steeper than sometimes it's steeper than other times, but just generally trying to like keep it reasonably good. But I've been like lucky to like have like places like the skate park, like the Loading Bay in Glasgow. So back in 2019, I just kind of like went there like pretty much every day and made like a fresh effort to try and like learn some new stuff and do things. I think that's what's good about having a video project on the horizon, because it just like gives you that extra little bit of motivation to be like, right, I'm going to be shooting something in a couple of months. I need to go and learn stuff. It's like when we went to Malaga for the second time for the Inspired trip. I'd been like away doing shows like all summer, and whilst that seems like a lot riding, it's not really like riding. So like if anything, you kind of regress in your riding because you're just like riding the same stuff all the time. You're not able to like go and ride for yourself. So say, for example, I think we went to like Malaga in like November or December. I think I got home in like September, and I was like, I just felt, partly because it's pressure because of other riders, especially with the likes of like John Langla's, who's like absolutely crushing it. You're like, right, well, if I'm going to be doing stuff alongside John and Ali and Tom, it's like I need to like step my game up a bit and like not necessarily try and do the stuff that they're doing, but just like do something different that's going to at least like stand alongside it and like
have your approach. It's just I'm sure with the drop and roll tours, it's like you can't do the same trick. So you're like, cool. Duncan's going to go do this trick, and Ali will do this trick. It's all having your own little niche bit is obviously important.
Yeah, because I see you tend to have the rails. Like you'll do like the your classic street rail gaps. With the bike locks. That kind of thing. Just doing.
Yeah, I quite like to just kind of mix things up a little bit. So it's just like a bit of street, but then still try and do like mix it with trial stuff, or do like a manual but then still like do some trial stuff within that manual line but then hold on the back wheel and stuff.
Because I've got speaking of like comps and all the shows, I can't remember what Andre Burton asked me to ask you about a speed trial in Switzerland.
Oh yeah.
So I had no idea. I was like, he was like, get Duncan to talk about that speed trial in Switzerland. I'm like, I've got no clue. Can you elaborate somehow a little bit?
Basically, the speed trial in Switzerland was, I did a show in Switzerland like in April of whatever year that was, probably like 2017 or something. And the same organizers were organizing like another bike event in like a couple of months, and they were like, oh, we really want like a street trials, right? Like it'd be cool if like you could come out. So they like paid for me to go out to this speed trial event, and I got there and Andre was there, but it was like a proper like, it was like me plus like 10 like proper like trials riders, like Andre, what's that other guy called? He's from Hungary, Laszlo Hedges.
Laszlo Hedges,
he's an he's like really, he's like a really cool guy, insanely powerful. And like, so we get there and the course had like kind of been set, but we also had like input. So I was like, right, man, I was like, so basically it was like a mixture of like me trying to make it like as flowy as possible. But then Andre's just like, because I think there was prize money there as well.
Okay, now I see.
I think it was like €1,000 or maybe €500 for first place.
Decent.
It's a nice amount.
Yeah. And like Andre, those guys, I'm like so chill with that stuff. I used to do competitions, but like now I'm just like chill. So we're basically like trying to make the course, and Andre and those guys are just like wanting to put like fucking like massive side tops and stuff.
Of course.
Have fucking like, and by the end of it, I was just like, fuck it, just make it however you want, and I'll just like try and ride it.
Yeah.
So I just basically, I think I actually ended up coming fourth. So I was like just off the podium, but it was brutal. Had to like come down, and then you'd like land, and like I just wanted to say like go over a tire, but right, let's just like make it a big like bunny hop rolling over this tire. But you'd have to like bunny hop up a tire, hop up to back wheel, then like side top onto this thing. And like those guys were just like absolutely bashing through it. And I'd get knackered as well. Like I'd be like so hard to like do the side top and then down, and I'd like get to one side, need to come back, and I'd be like, those guys are so fit because they compete all the time. I was just doing like, I could probably do about 45 seconds all out, and then like that's kind of
technically you were first though.
Probably like the length of like an Instagram clip, which was probably like 30 seconds at that time. So I was like, once my 30 seconds was up, I had to basically like stop for 10 seconds to get my breath back. So needless to say, I got beat.
Trying to keep that makes sense now. Andre saying you were trying to keep up with the proper kind of TGS style massive.
Yeah, well, you know what Andre's like. He's like the most competitive guy ever. Like,
yeah. It drives him, and now I see why. He's like, now I get it. He goes, I beat Duncan in a competition once.
He bet me on plenty of competitions before that as well. So.
All right, well, some other, and we won't, I always forget to ask these guests, but we won't with Duncan. We'll do a little quick fire round, couple of important questions. A lot of people who listen go, you forgot to ask the person, the Shindig, you forgot to ask. Someone like yourself who's travelled a lot, Duncan, you have travelled a lot, you've ridden in quite a few different countries, I would say. So this might be a difficult question. Where is probably your favourite place in the world to ride?
Oof, that's a hard one.
Hmm.
Where's the best place?
Yeah, or if you could just, I suppose, stick yourself this weekend anywhere.
Well, I'm actually, luckily enough, I'm going to California on Monday.
Oh,
And there's a
the
spot.
dream.
Lovely.
The dream.
There's a spot. I don't know if how much riding I'm going to be doing because I'm actually, like I was saying to Aaron before we start recording, I've injured my knee slightly or badly. So I'm going to have to like see how we go. But there's a spot in Huntington Beach in California. It's
Beautiful
like
spot. Yeah, I've got a friend who's there. Yeah.
Yeah, have you been before?
I have. Yeah, Cali's like my favorite state in the US. Well,
there's like it's a no-brainer. There's a sort of spot like down by the seaside there, which is really cool. It's like just basically like a cool mix of like trials and like manis, basically.
Good excuse. So you said Cali?
Which is always like a good session.
Yeah, we've been looking for an excuse to get back there.
Yeah, you should do it.
Yeah. Oh,
it's just a cool vibe, and like you can just ride there at like 5 or 6 p.m. and it's just like sun's going down. Good spot.
And Americans are always so amazed when you ride.
They
are way more
from them than
the reactions are bigger than like people in the UK. People in the UK are like, "That's what an idiot on a bike."
Yeah,
and the Americans like,
professional idiot.
Yeah, I think with trials in America, like there's not really like too many riders. So when you do stuff, it's quite random for them. So people are always quite into it. You don't usually get kicked off the spots, which is pretty cool. But then when you do, it's like usually pretty gnarly, and they like want to like arrest you and lock you up.
For vandalism.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't get to that level, it's usually pretty chill.
Your tires will not touch this concrete wall. You're not allowed.
Yeah.
Gets that far. All right, so we're in Cali riding. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
you're in Cali riding. What's the crew you might be riding with? What's that kind of group that's getting you going and you're having a great time?
Well, to be honest, I hang out with the same people all the time.
Yeah, that's fine. Give us the answer.
It's basically like me, Danny,
Yeah.
Dave Mack, who's like our photographer, and he drives the bus and does loads of stuff for dropping on. Then we've got Rory, who's always with us, and then hopefully Ali as well. It's always like a good crew. Yeah. We're probably completely sick of each other.
We call you the dream team.
Completely sick of each other, but we don't usually fall out too much, which is good, and everyone's pretty chill.
See, no, even though living all those years together, that was kind of my point. All those years living together, you still choose to be your crew to ride with, and that obviously resonates.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and then I suppose I add to that, like, just always good riding with any new folk. I always wish I could ride with Ben Travis more often. He's like one of my good pals, even though we don't see each other too much. So, definitely be cool to have him out on some trips. But he's now like dad life.
We've got plans. I've got ideas to bring people down to certain events at the same time, and they'll be like, "What the hell? You're here too!" And you and Ben was one of them. Like, we've got to get you down south on the old Shindig vlog, I think.
Yeah,
take you
for
to
sure.
Some, London spots, because I keep seeing things going. That's a line for Duncan. That's
always line spots.
This is stuff that we can't do. So I'm like,
I've
not got to bring him here. Oh, Ben will do that, and building up this list.
Yeah, we didn't do a big street ride.
Ben's for sure. But Ben's just such an inspiring guy because, like, of all people, he could so easily just like not be riding anymore, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Yeah, he really has kept the fire burning.
He's not even that much older than me. He's like a few years older than me, but just given the circumstances, he's got a job, he's got a wife, kids. He could so easily like not be riding anymore, but he's still doing it, and he's not just riding, but he's actually like always progressing.
Super
so if he can do it, we should definitely be doing it.
That's why there's no excuse being. I'm not, but I know that some people are like, being a dad is hard work. I understand that, but I guess he's showing, and some other riders are really showing that it's down to your dedication and commitment to the sport itself.
Yeah, still possible to find the time.
Sure. And I think and I think sometimes when you've got less time, you like make the most of it. So like he might not be able to go for like a 5 or 6 hour street ride like me, Ali, and Danny could go out and do, but it means when he gets like his hour, he'll go out and like completely go for it.
He'll really make
hard, like
ride
proper power concert for that hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and he'll probably do as many back hops and as many bunny hops as like we would do in like a longer ride, because we're just like chilling, right? Because we're just like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a social thing as well. Definitely, just going out riding. It's not just about riding your bike. It's also going to meet people, new people. Just hanging around
I'll go out
same
with my
people as
bike,
well.
knowing I might not be able to ride, literally to go and see people and have good conversation.
Yeah.
You know, I can talk, so it's always like it's always something else.
Always something to
I'll
say.
get to, but I wanted to go a little bit as well, Duncan, into some of your actual. You said you've got some sponsors supporting you and so forth. You've recently had a mountain bike sponsor you, Maren, as well. Can you just tell us a little bit about what your sponsors are, so everyone kind of knows? And there's some up in the air I wasn't sure about.
Yeah, so basically, ever since we started Drop and Roll, we were like really lucky to get sponsors on board from the get-go, which was like a mixture of Danny's sponsors as well as some new ones. So we basically, from 2014, we just had like it's kind of like how a downhill team would work, I suppose, where like a team gets sponsors and then the riders within that team can then use that stuff. And then I had that sort of like team support. So like we would be able to we were sponsored by Magura, for example, so we'd all get Maguras if we wanted them, and then Conti and stuff like that. So, but apart from that, like my only sort of like personal deal with a brand would have been like Inspired, where I think I had ridden Inspired from like 2012, but like then got put on the team in like 2014 or something like that. Once I started just doing a little bit more and some better stuff. But then I think it was in 2016, Muck-Off approached me because we were working with them for the tour, and they were like they were beginning to do like the branded helmets, so they were kind of wanting to go down that Red Bull kind of like method. I think Ben Deacon was like their first. The mountain biker Ben Deacon was like their first sponsored rider from like years ago. So he had a helmet, and a couple of others they'd sponsored a few like American like free riders. And they approached me with that idea. So I think I did a deal with them in 2016, maybe. Might have been 2017.
They didn't say to you in the contract you must ride a pink bike.
Nah, that was actually
so
my
on brand though, right? I mean,
that was actually just my. That was just actually. It was like a thought, but I kind of just wanted a pink bike. And last year we had been through so many different colours Inspired, and we were like running out of like.
You about that.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you. Yeah. I mean,
I was like, can't go. I was like, I could go like that. And I always like, ever since I had that yellow bike back in like 2017, I was like, it's really. I used to always like black bikes and stuff like that, but after I got that yellow bike, I was like, that bright sort of coloured bikes are definitely where it's at. Like it looks better in photos. It's good for Instagram.
Yeah,
it's loud.
It's
kind of
loud.
becomes
very, very nice.
It's good for like kind of getting you noticed and stuff. It's quite a distinguishing like feature of like your riding or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like after that, I was thinking, right, I need to keep writing. It's like last year I was like, what colour could we go? I was like, could just go bright pink. I think there was another option. And we'd already done like another yellow bike that was kind of similar to the other one, so I was like, we need to just do something different. But it wasn't actually, that wasn't a thought out thing with Muck-Off.
No, I didn't think it was. I just thought to them.
To them, I would have been quite suitable for sure.
Yeah, it worked really well. But yeah, after, I suppose it's like all these things, once you kind of get somebody on board, and I think Muck-Off were quite pioneering in the sort of UK scene of like who sponsor riders, and I think then like other brands look to who they're sponsoring, and I think that really helped me, and then ended up working with some different brands since then, on like more sort of like official deals and signing contracts and stuff since that. So once that sort of set the ball rolling, that all came together. And then it wasn't until I always had a pretty loose deal with Inspired, and used to riding a Santa Cruz mountain bike just because through Danny and some of the guys I knew got a deal on that. But it wasn't until lockdown really that I properly started riding mountain bikes. Got an e-bike, and I was like, got proper hooked on it and rode that all the time, and got to a level where I felt I actually can imagine being able to justify to a mountain bike brand that I could ride for them and actually offer them something.
Yeah.
because until then I just kind of like thought about it, but I never really fully committed because I just didn't really feel I was like could justify it or was worthy of it, because obviously comfortable in riding a trials bike and you can kind of transfer some of those skills to mountain bike, but I was always pretty shit on a mountain bike, to be honest. And it wasn't until just like having 6 months riding e-bike every day that I was like, maybe I could speak to some companies. And at the end of last year I spoke to a few brands, and luckily like quite a few were interested. But when I spoke to the guys at Marin, just because they were such a cool, like iconic brand from back in the day, like bike's cool, really like the brand, the guys that are all there seem like really chilled and kind of aligned with what I do, so it's a pretty cool thing to do. So it's like signed with those guys for 2 years.
Nice. So, are we going to be seeing you on your mountain bike a bit more? Maybe in an MTB video potentially? Or?
I hope so. I've just with bikes at the moment, it's so hard to like be like even like the people on contracts and stuff. It's even hard to get bikes. But I do have a mountain bike now. I've got an e-bike, so need to do some more stuff. I just need to set it up a little bit better so it's more suited to doing trials on. Like subtle changes, like with the hub, like things like the hubs and stuff like that make a massive difference.
Nice Industry 9, all that engagement.
Yeah. So I only just got some Industry 9 stuff the other week that I need to get put on that bike, and once I put that on, I think it's going to make a massive difference.
Yeah, definitely.
Actually being able to do trial stuff. It's already pretty good, like surprisingly good what you can do if you just kind of go for it. If you get past like the fragility of it, you
can kind of feel just a bit loose on the like the suspension and stuff like that. You kind of don't know where you are.
Yeah, and just like and just like the chain ring and the carbon down tubes and stuff like that. Just like I think but if you're going to make a video, you just kind of need to get past that and just thrash it a bit. Yeah. So I would like to do some more trialsy stuff.
I mean, it seems to be a natural progression for professional riders, so to speak, and a lot of well-known mountain bikers, as we know, all come from trials backgrounds. I'm biased, but the best mountain bikers came from a trials background. That's just me.
Because those skills definitely are transferable in 100%. Very small ways.
Yeah.
Just like the use of the front wheel, being able to maneuver the front wheel, just like balance and just weight distribution and stuff like that really is like comparable between the two.
I think braking's a thing that people overlook as well. You like learn to be like really good with braking, which is something that a beginner wouldn't necessarily be able to do. So that helps loads. But I would say if there was one drawback, I do think that trials gives you a certain style that's quite hard to kick on the mountain bike. When you see like certain people riding, like myself included, it's just hard to get away from that, like elbows out,
rigidness,
ass out. It's just like, because mountain biking is so like flowy and
you've
chill.
kind of got to move with the bike and be a bit more relaxed.
Yeah, whereas trials is just like, and like jumping, like we're like so shit at jumping. Like even Danny, who's like Danny's done like loads of mountain biking. I'm like, still really hard to like to go from basically riding the drop and roll rig and hitting the kicker and like pushing into it and try to get everything out of it and landing on your back wheel, to then try to hit like a sort of dirt jump kicker where you're basically having to nose it in and get your like, wow, it's just hard.
Yeah, no, it's
you can almost tell
doing it.
If sort of a mountain biker is a trials rider on a mountain bike, because they're just that little bit more rigid, aren't we? And, we can't quite get
looks shit. Looks shit, basically. Is what it
is. We haven't got the best style on a mountain bike, but it's kind of like at least you can do.
You'll get that.
Yeah,
you'll get down. Like you'll be good at climbing. You could do really like steep shoots and all that. You'll get down fine. You just might look like a bit of a noob doing it.
And, before, we did miss one of the questions. We know what your favourite trick is anyway. When you're in Cali, you're with Danny and Ali, because we always mamble on, you know what I'm like. We know what your favourite trick is. You're manualing around the beach, aren't you? Up and down. It's got to be.
Through the sand.
Yeah. But, which we won't forget. Duncan, do you remember your worst ever shindig?
I've had quite a few, to be fair. Probably my jeans weren't so tight I could get this.
That's it, mate. No, that's the lifestyle of a famous rider. There's lots of scars, bro.
You can't really see them.
You can,
yeah, it's
you can see on someone's shin that you've just got these.
Is there a particular one that really resonates with you?
Yeah, I remember there was one time I'd obviously had quite a few shinners when I was just getting into riding, but I think I'd been at the bike shop and I'd got like a set of, I think they were like Planet X pedals, but they're basically like rip-offs of like DMR V8s or something.
Yeah.
I think they came with different size of pins, and I was like, right, I'll just stick the biggest pins in.
Yeah, totally.
And
Terrapins, DMR used to call them.
I would have been like 13 or 14 at the time, just getting into trials. And I had like a little garden set up, but my dad had got me some pallets. And I think they had gone for like a walk. They went to walk the dog. So I used to like have like the school, my old secondary school used to be like down the back of my garden. And they used to have a gate like straight into this field. And they left. I just was like riding, and I got this shinner. And I remember looking at my shin, and I'd never really quite seen anything like it. You know, that sort of like when it goes from just being like a cut to like a really deep wound, where it just kind of like
just like white. You couldn't like, is that my bone?
Yeah, just pure white. And it was like pretty deep, quite small, but like really deep.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just like it's not even bleeding yet, and then they just like, so you see it all.
Yeah, your life flashes before your eyes. Like,
yeah, I was like,
fuck.
I was like, I've never seen anything like that. Mm-hmm. So I was proper panicking. I remember like basically hobbling all the way down this hill to try and find my mum and dad to basically get this thing, and then it probably should have got stitched, but I don't even think I ended up getting it stitched. Oh no, I do actually have another one. I have another really bad one. I was riding in Glasgow on my 24-inch Echo. Does Shindigs count if it's not a pedal?
Yeah, we've established now that it happens with everything, so we are accepting Shindigs as anything. So
okay, cool. So that's my worst pedal one. But there was another time was living in Glasgow. I think it was before Ali and Danny moved up, so I was riding by myself, and I was riding in the grounds of like a hospital, which is pretty handy, as you'll soon find out. And I can't remember exactly what I was doing, but there was this wall, but it was like quite old, so it was like all kind of like rugged and sharp. And I think I was going to do like an up to front, and then like change my mind and decide to go like back. And you know when you kind of do somewhere in between, and it's just
goes
an absolute like bank of like shit. And I basically just like shinned myself on the corner of this wall, and just put like the deepest gash, like a big and deep gash, like into my leg. And I remember for ages, to be honest, I could probably even go back now and like look close at it, but like for literally like a year at least, I'd walk past that wall and I could still see like skin and hair that were like basically
you know you've done a number on your shin when you can see the skin on the pedal or the wall in this case.
But I basically once it happened, I just, because I was literally at the hospital, I just walked around straight into hospital. So like within like 2 minutes of it happening, I was already like on the table. And that was like one of the only times I ever got stitches for a shin. I think I had like 8 stitches or something.
Because that sounds similar to Ali C's when that's why in his pod he's basically done the same thing, just ran his shin down the edge of a wall.
Yeah.
Which, if anything, might seem to be a worse way to get a shindig than a pedal.
You don't know what's been on that wall. Depending
like
where you are, what city you're in.
Especially the height in Glasgow's probably got piss on it or something. I don't know.
Worse than piss.
My only experience in Glasgow is being out in the street. I left the O2 and we were dancing with the guy busking.
Standard.
Yeah. Literally, this is the first time I've been out dancing with the guy busking in the street in Glasgow, and everyone's absolutely fucking mental in Glasgow.
Oh, that happens pretty much like every night as well.
That's why I thought it was normal.
People make Glasgow. That's the saying, and it's still true.
Yeah, it's pretty mad. But yeah, didn't get infected, so
hopefully we'll get up to, well, now that Aaron's down this way, I've got an excuse to go up to Scotland. I'd love to ride Scotland. I've never ridden Scotland before.
Yeah, Glasgow's good for street.
Yeah, I keep seeing Ali.
Where we are now isn't quite as good, but
didn't you always have a trials park? I've always seen you had like a little trials park there.
Oh, this is a new thing. This is it's kind of a new thing.
Oh, okay.
Yes, up near Loch Ness. And
Loch Ness Trials Park.
Yeah, Neil Gillis and Brodie Ferguson. and a few other boys who helped build this little trials park with like diggers, and they've got it's a pretty good little spot that they've got going up there.
Oh, so it's quite fresh.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, you'd have a good session there though. It's good.
Yeah, I've seen a couple. You've got a couple of clips there, Duncan. It did look
Yeah,
like
I've ridden
somewhere
there.
I'd quite happily go, and yeah, good excuse to go and see our friend Neil. Shout out to Neil, good lad. Yeah,
Yeah,
There
he's
was also one in Aviemore as well. I don't know if you'll remember this. It was at Aviemore.
the McDonald.
Yeah, that place.
Yeah.
And they would hold competitions there. You know, it was mostly rocks and stuff like that, but
Mm-hmm.
they had some log sections and stuff. They held one of the Scottish bike trail competitions there. It was also a really good place.
Yeah, I remember riding that.
Yeah.
well, 2023, Glasgow's hosting the British Cycling event. You know, Trials is going to be there, or everything. I'm hoping you'll be there, maybe, Duncan.
Yeah,
Potentially
I'll hopefully be there. There's
Yeah.
people telling me I need to make a comeback to comps, try and ride in that, but
It's too
don't
much
think it's
pressure,
gonna
bro.
happen.
Just keep it with your stylish moves instead.
You'll probably be there
Yeah.
with a drop and roll.
It might be
anyway.
different if there was.
yeah, I would like to do a show there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking then. It might be different
Yeah.
if you're there probably performing, I was going to say,
Yeah.
rather than actually kind of competing. But Duncan, thanks so much for your time today. I won't keep you too
No
much
worries.
longer.
Cheers for having me. That's class.
But a couple of final things that we'd like to ask all of our guests. If you could have anyone on the podcast you'd like to hear from, who would you want it to be, Duncan? Call them out.
Oh, who would like to see? Have you had Akrig on yet?
No, and I've got his mobile number. So he doesn't know that yet.
He will do soon.
But I've been waiting for enough
Yeah, I say
call
that's
outs.
that'd be a good one. He's someone I'd like to get like catch up on my own, but you should definitely get one on the go.
Yeah,
You guys
I mean,
probably
I'm sure
have a
they'll
little bit,
both
like,
be-
deep in the trial stuff.
Very different. We've obviously both
Yeah.
interviewed Ali, being completely different. And I will say, Duncan, it was you that kicked me over the edge. As in, I had the idea for a long time, and as soon as you did that, I went, okay,
Let's do it.
Ah, class. Yeah,
in
it's cool.
in a good way, and I'm really glad that you're doing your bit. And
Yeah.
it is completely different. So
Yeah,
thank
for
you
sure.
is what I'm trying to say, dude. Thank you.
No worries.
I know.
Cheers.
I know the effort that goes into it, and the kind of everything that happens on the back end. So on behalf of the biking community, mate, thank you so much for everything you do.
Cheers. Thanks for having us.
And one last
Get riding the
message.
go soon.
Yeah, one last message for all of the riders, any of your fans, all of us for trials. Have you got a little message you want to give everyone?
Oof, that's a hard one. Don't know, just keep riding, keep having fun. Don't get too wrapped up in what everyone's doing, and just it's all fun on bikes at the end of the day, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
nice.
it's
I
like,
think
yeah, that's what I'm
a
saying.
good-
It's nice to just
It's a
be
good thing to end on, I would say.
yeah, and nice for people to know that it's not always super serious. Someone like yourself who makes a career out of it, you can still kind of have a light-hearted, fun.
Oh yeah,
approach.
we don't take it seriously at all.
Yeah.
Got to make it fun, mate.
Doesn't work.
You're living the dream, mate, to be
No
honest.
point.
I would say.
And hopefully we'll see some more trials, tapas from yourself, Duncan, and a couple of
hopefully.
other
main
projects.
courses.
Yeah, yeah, a couple of main courses. Yeah, I don't know what we're
Yeah.
going to call dessert. Does a podcast mean dessert or something? I don't
It could
know.
be. It's, looking at it afterwards. It's like the third. Looking back on it afterwards.
Yeah, that casualness of it. So, mate, thanks again.
Cheers,
Enjoy
boys.
the rest of your day, and hopefully we will get together soon for some sort of video. I would love that.
Yeah,
Sure,
that'd be
let's
great.
do it.
Nice one, mate.
Nice.
Take
Cheers,
care.
guys.
We'll speak to you soon.
Catch you
Bye
later.
bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.